Hello, everyone. Welcome to this brand new edition of 5 Round MMA. My name is Alex Ramirez. In studio alongside me is Albert Cita, and a special reunion of sorts. The second time.
Reunion. I'm finally back, guys.
Second time since the reboot. Guillermo Cita is joining us via telephone here. Guillermo, Albert, how's it going, guys?
It's going good, and I just want to give Guillermo a disclaimer. I have full control of his mic right now, so I could mute you, Guillermo. So if you get out of hand or you start losing your cool, I'm going to put you down.
Well, you know, I'm never going to lose my cool. I'm just going to disagree with you guys because you guys don't know MMA.
He's going to set us the record straight. Oh, man, Guillermo, good to have you back here. The trio
It's funny because I have such a different perspective from you guys.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's why when the three of us were together on the original incarnation of 5 Round MMA, it was gold because we had that. Sometimes we would disagree. Most of the time we disagree. Sometimes we would agree on some stuff. Sometimes it'd be 2 against 1. Sometimes it'd be, you know what I mean?
Let's face it. You and Albert always agree on everything.
Pretty much, we're two sides of the same brain, right, Albert?
How do they say we're built from the same cloth? Or
yeah.
Stitched from the
cut
same
from the same cloth.
Yeah.
2 peas in a pod, however you want to call it here. Well, on this week's show, we've got a lot to talk about. UFC 260's in the record books here. We're going to talk about our reactions to it. Talk about the potential. First, it was a sure thing. Now it's a potential. Francis Ngannou versus Jon Jones. We're going to talk about the return of Miocic Tate, and also talk some WWE and what Peacock is doing to the WWE Network library. And we're going to talk about what more am I talking about? I forgot. One more topic, but completely slipped my mind for some reason.
But you will know when we get
It
there.
is wrestling related, though. So those are the 4 out of the 5 rounds. I do apologize for that here. But before we get started here, we'd like to talk about some other things other than MMA and mixed martial arts, or MMA, and professional wrestling. Sorry about that. Albert Cita, you went to Disney's Taste of Disney. What is it called?
Damn, dude, they just slipped my mind right now. But I think it's called Taste of Disney or Touch of Disney.
And that's where you just walk around Disneyland or California Adventure?
You walk around California Adventures. You pay a premium bucks. You get $25 in food credit, and they pretty much just have like top tier fine dining tasting at California Adventures.
Yeah, fine dining tasting.
Yeah,
so is it fun for the whole family?
Yeah. One of the cool things was I wasn't quite sure if they're gonna have like the mascots come out, but they did. They were on top of like rides or on top of structures. So obviously that's beyond social distance. There's no way a kid can run up to one of the Mickey and touch them or whatever. They're literally. You can't even reach them.
Yeah.
But they were still there, and I mean that's all the kids want to see. My kids had a blast, and at the end of the day, I guess that's all that matters.
It's all about the kids.
Yeah, I mean, at first I was frustrated because I keep popping. I'm gonna put my pop filter in the next round, but I got frustrated because everything's mobile order.
Okay.
And it's a time frame because they don't want you just lining up there once you mobile order. They'll tell you, not only will they tell you when to head over there, when you click on it, they tell you, don't get in line yet until we tell you to.
Wow.
So they were taking it very serious about, they didn't want crowds. They didn't want people to crowd up. And this was a good way. But in a way, for the user, it was a little bit frustrating just because I wasn't explained how the process is. And if I would have known, I would have ordered a bunch of stuff ahead of time. And then I waited too long, so some stuff overlapped. And some stuff was, I had to wait an hour for. But that was user error, but I can see why Disney did it though.
Disney getting their faithful completely trained, right? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
They used to be Guillermo too, right? Guillermo, weren't you a regular at Disneyland before all this?
Yeah, and I'm kind of disappointed that Albert is like late to the game. I mean, this has been in play at Disney World for forever. So the fact that you are a horrible user just shows your intelligence in MMA and in wrestling.
You're telling me the first time you went to Disney World, you already knew exactly how to do the mobile orders.
Not necessarily, but if you look at the videos like you're supposed to on the instructions, like I did on the California Adventure, it tells you what you're supposed to do, Albert. So the fact that you didn't do your research is kind of I'm disappointed in you.
Is that going to Albert just kind of the emotion overcome you? You're just excited to be there.
Dude, honestly, where usually the tram picks you up and takes you to Disneyland, you have to walk that. I have never been more happy in my life to just walk.
Also, no tram ride at all?
No, dude, you get your 2 legs. But again, Disney understands that not everybody's fit.
Yeah.
They had like benches along the way because some people, I think you've seen some people at Disneyland.
Take them breaks?
There ain't no way they can make it. And so they got a little break, little places you can sit,
Whoa,
take your
that's
time,
crazy.
get yourself over there.
Wow.
And the last point I was gonna make, Albert, you'd probably be impressed by the Florida's bird.
All right, we're losing you. And I think
Yeah,
we lost
I'm
Guillermo.
pretty sure. Can you hear me?
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Repeat what you were saying.
What about Florida?
Well, I was gonna say that it's a shame because if you ever really experienced the Florida Food and Wine Festival, you would be blown away of how behind California Adventure is on offering those services, Albert. So
Wow.
just keep in mind, go to Epcot around the fall season, and you'll be blown away.
Yeah, Guillermo used to be a regular when he lived in Florida at Disney World, so we got some stories there. All right, it's enough about Disneyland. You guys, I know you guys can talk about it all day.
We literally spent 6 minutes on this.
So let's get started with round number 1. UFC 260 took place this past Saturday. Main event, Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou for the UFC Heavyweight Championship. We do now have a new heavyweight champion. Francis Ngannou gets the job done. KO in the second round. Looks nasty. Folds Miocic's leg as he falls down. Before we get down to the main event, any other highlights from the main card or prelims you guys want to talk about? This was a pretty top-heavy card, at least in my opinion. I know there's just some Sean O'Malley fans out there. Tyron Woodley got choked out. Other than that, there weren't too many needle movers as far as forward what's going future now. I think it was pretty the top 3 matches, right? Ngannou versus Miocic, Woodley, and then Sugar O'Malley, right? Unless I'm missing else, guys. Albert, you want to talk about something, or is that the 3?
So I'm gonna just bring you down for now, Guillermo. I'm not trying to mute you, just because we hear that background, and I know the audience loves to hear what I say. So I'm gonna just put you down, but when we call on you, I'll put you back up. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So my highlight, of course, was Ngannou and the murder that took place. I'm pretty sure not the DEA, the FBI. Yeah, who goes after murders?
The homicide or
the
Las Vegas PD.
They're after him.
The homicide division.
Yeah, they're after Ngannou. Of course, that was the highlight. It's funny how these cards. It's always the same when there's not that many name recognition. For some reason, it always rises up. And I feel like there's some good matches out there. There's a good women's bout in the whole card, but not to take away from the main event, that was the.
We'll scroll down just through the rest of the card real quick. Main card, Tyron Woodley is Vicente Luque, and then Random Maverick. Actually, we have a profile on her on FiveRoundMMA.com a long time ago, when she was still grinding away in the local circuit, and then. Jamie Malarkey gets it done against Worthy, but it was pretty top heavy, right?
Yeah. So you want to bring in Guillermo?
Yeah, Guillermo. What were some of your highlights on the card? Was it? Go ahead, Guillermo.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go for it.
Can you guys, dude? I cannot disagree more with Albert because this is such an underrated card. The fact that the first matchup, it was a knockout, right? Then we got the girls. The girls was high paced. The Sean O'Malley fight. I mean, Sean O'Malley looked good, and people were calling for a title shot for Sean O'Malley after the fight.
He has to run it back with Chico.
Yeah, he does.
He has to run it back.
He looked good, but again, nonetheless, it was on Twitter. But then you get into the Tyron Woodley. You have what's his name, Vicente?
Yeah.
He looked amazing, and he was calling.
Did he look amazing though? Did he look amazing though?
Or did
Tyron Woodley just look bad?
But he did what he was supposed to do: beat a top contender, and he did it easily. That's my point. And I think every single fight didn't last as long as I expected it to, which was a good thing because I expected action, and that's why I feel like the card was underrated. Then you get to the main event, and from the very beginning, after I saw DC knock out Stipe Miocic, I knew it was a different mindset from Stipe. Now it's survival mode, and we saw that with Ngannou. It felt like he was scared from the minute. Who wouldn't be scared, right? But he was scared from the minute the bell rang. At least I felt, and honestly, I thought it was a very underrated card.
Real quick too,
isn't that exactly what I said?
Tyron Woodley, what's his legacy now? Is he Hall of Famer, guys?
You said it was top heavy.
I said top heavy. Tyron Woodley, is he a Hall of Famer, Guillermo?
Who is?
Tyron Woodley. Is he Hall of Famer?
I want to say yes, just because of what he accomplished during the time that he accomplished, because that welterweight division was pretty stacked. It's kind of not as stacked anymore. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about really high athletes at the welterweight division at the time that he held the belt. I mean, you're talking about Robbie Lawler, and you guys hate on Robbie Lawler.
True.
I
mean,
Robbie Lawler was in his prime.
2 Wonder Boy fights, Damian Maya.
100%. Tyron Woodley's going to the Hall of Fame. Former Strikeforce champion. But it's one of those things where he ended up the same career like Chuck Liddell, where he had an incredible run, and then towards the end it got really bad. And, but you can't take away what he did prior to that bad streak.
Yeah, I wonder if he kind of hangs up after this now, right? Because
I think you have to. I think it's the same thing with Chuck Liddell. I think everybody, after watching that Tito fight, wishes that Chuck should have just stayed retired.
Yeah. Stipe Miocic, does he get back on the horse again and fight maybe? I mean, I don't know who's Curtis Blades, somebody like that, or does he kind of hang?
I honestly saw him look very slim. He came in at 230. If he can make 205. I think that's the future for Stipe.
You think 205, really?
That's what I think.
Guillermo, what's next for Stipe? Not 205.
No, I think Albert's wrong there. I think at 230, even coming in at slim, I think he still has a lot of. He has a marquee name, first of all, so people will tune in still with Stipe Miocic. But then at the second point is to me the heavyweight division is very thin compared to the light heavyweight. So I think you keep him at heavyweight, and there's still potential matchups to build other heavyweights up, because once you talk about Ngannou and Stipe Miocic, what do you really have there at heavyweight? You're talking about, and we'll talk about the next segment, but you only have Jon Jones as like, oh my God, that's the next matchup.
I mean,
if you didn't have Jon Jones, what would you want?
He has to revenge one of his losses against Black Beast.
Yeah,
so you got to run that back. And Derek Lewis just won.
Yeah, but honestly, Albert, are you really excited about that matchup, Black Beast versus Ngannou?
Yes.
No.
100%.
Ngannou right now Ngannou is on another level right now.
Okay,
and there is nobody stopping this force unless he stops himself.
We'll talk about that next coming up. That's it for round number 1. We're going to talk about what's next for Francis Ngannou. The obvious choice should be Jon Jones, but former light heavyweight champion has something to say about that, so don't go anywhere. We'll talk about that next.
5-Round MMA.
Welcome back. Time for round number 2. So basically, along with the main event, our UFC 260 being for the UFC Heavyweight Championship, the real prize was who's going to welcome Jon Jones into the heavyweight division, right? The greatest light heavyweight champion the UFC's ever known, undefeated. Technically, he has that one DQ loss, has made it known. He relinquished his championship belt. He's training to fight at heavyweight. It was pretty much the Jon Jones sweepstake, right? So as soon as Francis Ngannou got the knockout, people were saying, Ngannou versus Jones, make it happen, when, where, how, let's make this happen now. You think it's a sure thing, but Jon Jones, being the ever controversial figure that he is, he said, hold up. First thing he tweeted out was, show me the money. And basically, since Ngannou knocked out Stipe, he's been saying, I'll do it if the money's right. So we have his Twitter up here. Basically, almost, Saturday night, says Conor McGregor wants big money. It's expected. Jon Jones wants money. Now he's scared. I think Dana White or somebody said, we'll just throw in Derek Lewis. Jon Jones says it's okay. Derek Lewis can have the fight. No need to rush a great thing. I've already had a Hall of Fame career. I'm going to need some bread. I think his latest one, as of recording, go all the way to the top, Albert. He said, I'm going to try to remain faithful. There's still time for the UFC to do the right thing. I'm supposed to be seeing a fight proposal next week. Fingers crossed. This is an opportunity of a lifetime for everyone involved. So what's the end game? Is Jon Jones overpricing himself? Guillermo, I want you to go first, Guillermo. What's Jon Jones doing here?
Jon Jones is doing the same strategy as Conor McGregor, and I'm going to bash Albert if he says anything about Jon Jones, because we all knew Conor McGregor was going to lose to Mayweather. We all knew Conor McGregor had a higher possibility. Actually, with Nate Diaz, the thing that he went up, I had a feeling like he picked someone to push up just for the money side of it, not necessarily because he felt like he knew there was a possibility of losing, but he wanted the money at part of it. The thing is, I 100% agree with Jon Jones. He's not scared, but hey, if I'm a professional fighter and there's an opportunity for me to blemish my record, I at least want to get paid for it, where I'm going to sell a lot of pay-per-views. I don't care what Albert says. Jon Jones versus Ngannou is a box office hit. Everybody will pay for this pay-per-view. No ifs, ands, or buts.
But isn't he already giving himself a cop-out? Like saying, well, guys, I tried. The UFC couldn't beat. I want $100 million for this fight. UFC didn't even come close to it. Thanks, you guys. Blame the UFC. Don't blame me for having maybe some realistic goals or negotiating. Obviously, I'm always an advocate for the fighters to get as much money as they can. But when you're already tweeting this out less than an hour after the guy wins, aren't you giving yourself an excuse to not fight Ngannou?
No, it's not a cop-out, Alex, because you got to put pressure on the UFC. The UFC is going to be simply like, hey, here's the contract, here's the title. But same thing, how many times did Conor McGregor retire from the MMA world?
Look, let me
Alex, no one says anything.
Let me
no
start.
one said anything when he retired because he wasn't getting. Go ahead.
Look. First of all, Guillermo's missing a big factor here. Numbers don't lie. Who is pay-per-view king in UFC? Conor McGregor.
Brock Lesnar. Oh, Conor.
regardless of the outcome that has happened in a Conor McGregor fight, he produces the numbers, and guess what? That's how you get paid. All right? Jon Jones doesn't have the numbers Conor McGregor has. With that said, though, I think a fair price point is to give whatever pay-per-view share percentage Conor gets, Jon Jones should get for this fight. I 100% agree. Whatever it is, I don't know the number. Whatever it is that Conor gets in pay-per-view buys, Jones should get it too. And Jones should then not cry about it, because if it is box office like Guillermo says, then the numbers are going to show, and guess what? Your paycheck's going to show a high number, because that's what pays you. So I feel the fair thing to do is whatever it is they pay Conor in pay-per-view sales. I don't care about the money up front. I'm talking about the pay-per-view sales.
Yeah.
Give it to Jon Jones, and the only person that has to cry whatever afterwards is him, because guess what, bro? You didn't produce the numbers. That's why your paycheck wasn't as big as Conor's. Simple as that.
Now, do you think he would have said, show me the money if Stipe won?
Heck no. Dude, he would have told Stipe, I'll see you in July.
Yeah, because that's the easier fight for Jon Jones. And come on, I mean, like in the beginning, Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor. I mean, did it do the numbers that Conor wanted? Yes. What is doing Conor McGregor everything now is like that Mayweather, it bought him all that stuff.
But
Jon Jones would have beat Stipe, he would have still been critical of him. Oh, he took the easy guy.
But it's not even about that.
The marquee matchup.
Jones is the one that put money into the issue. He could have easily put a tweet out saying like, oh, don't say anything about money. Just be like, oh, I'll see you.
But the pressure is on the UFC.
He could have just said UFC send the papers and that's it, right?
Exactly, something like that. Instead, it sounds like he's already setting up an excuse for himself. And like I told you, Guillermo, at the end of the day, it's numbers. People can cry and bitch all they want about Conor McGregor. The day Conor McGregor doesn't do those numbers and they still pay him, I think that's when people need to cry. As long as people are still wanting to see Conor McGregor's, how is it UFC's fault? Trust me.
This is what you don't see. This is what you don't see.
Guillermo, if
Conor
FiveRoundMMA has over 100,000 views because you came on the show, guess what? You're going to be on the show every single time. But if the numbers don't produce after this show, Guillermo, guess what? You're not going to be on the show that much.
No, we'll still have him on the show.
We'll still have him.
We still need him on the show.
Hey, but Albert, you're missing the key point. What makes Conor McGregor great? It's the fan support. Jon Jones is trying to put pressure on the UFC, but from the fans' perspective, if the fans want to see this pay-per-view against Ngannou and Jon Jones, the fans will speak to it to make sure that he gets the same popularity that Conor McGregor got versus Nate Diaz, versus Mayweather, against Poirier. It's the fans that want to see that.
Yeah. No, I agree. So if it's not Jon Jones, you don't run it back with Stipe, do you? Because technically they're tied. It's 1-1.
Correct.
Do you run it back?
You go with Derek Lewis. No,
Derek
you
Lewis?
go with Derek Lewis. You go with the fresh matchup and a guy that has beat him before as well.
And then after that, you got Curtis Blades.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Yeah.
Okay, are you going to bootleg Stipe Miocic versus Jon Jones, or are you buying the pay-per-view? Are you bootlegging Stipe Ngannou versus Jon Jones, or are you buying the pay-per-view?
You know, as members of the media, we can't really say if we do illegal streaming or not, Guillermo. So,
but to the general fans, I bet you they're buying the pay-per-view Ngannou versus Jon Jones.
Or, Guillermo, you actually might... Or does the UFC, you know what, Jon Jones, we're not going to give you a title shot. We're going to welcome you into the division. We'll give you Stipe.
Give him Stipe, yeah.
As a welcome in, as a title eliminator.
I am perfectly fine with that.
Do you think that happens instead
Honestly, that's probably the smartest thing you guys have ever said at 5-Round-MMA. I would do Ngannou and Black Bees as the main event for the heavyweight belt, and then I would do Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic as the co-main event, and it'll be one of the best heavyweight pay-per-views you guys will ever see.
Actually, yeah, I would, yeah, definitely.
Oh, no, yeah, I'll pay $70 for that.
All right, that's it for round number 2. Hopefully it comes through, and hopefully we see Jon Jones in heavyweight division soon. And hopefully, again, we advocate for all the fighters to get paid as much as they're worth, as much as they can. So, because the UFC is a $1 billion company, they could shell down a few million to the fighters. We're gonna come back in round number 3, talking about a surprise return from retirement in women's MMA. Don't go nowhere. It's coming up next.
5-Round MMA.
Welcome back. Time for round number 3. So we're talking about in the first round, like the likes of Chuck Liddell, the pioneers of mixed martial arts, and if you're talking about the history and the historical figures, important figures, you gotta talk about Miocic Tate, right, guys? Yeah.
For women's, yes.
Yes. Overall. Well, after being gone for I don't know how many years, she is returning back to the UFC. She's fighting July 17th, according to ESPN, against Marion Renault. Returned back.
2016.
2016 was the last fight. She dropped it to Raquel Pennington. Before that, she lost her title to Amanda Nunes. So she was kind of the one who kicked off the Lioness era. It's kind of surprise return. I think she said she just wanted to come back here. But also, she said that she has the tools to beat Amanda Nunes, even though she lost to her before. So, is this a surprise back? Are you even excited that Miocic Tate's coming back, or what's the end game here for Misha?
At the end of the day, the issue is, to me, is what weight class are we talking about? Because everybody knows that they're having trouble in the featherweight division, right? And that's the one I think that is in this weird limbo stage. So if she's coming back for bantamweight, right?
Yes, I believe
which
so.
is the other belt.
135.
To me, it's not a big deal because I feel like there's still enough in bantamweight, I think, where you can keep it going and eventually a new star will develop. Maybe there'll be a new challenge for Amanda Nunes. And to me, that seems more of a crucial thing. But at the end of the day, the women's division, whatever help they can get, they should get it.
Guillermo, do you think that they gave her Miocic Tate, Marion Renault, who honestly she's about 9-7, coming off a loss? I think this will be her last fight in her contract as a warm-up fight, and then maybe you give Tate versus Nunes at 145 instead of 135
because she has 1, 2, 3, 4 losses.
Because basically there is no 145 division except for Amanda Nunes, who's a champion, and even though they cut Megan Anderson, they keep saying, hey, as long as Nunes wants to fight at 145, we'll still have that division. So is Miocic Tate is kind of coming back as a favor to Amanda Nunes per the UFC?
I think so. It goes back to the conversation we had before. Show me the money. I think Miocic Tate getting, still the wanting to fight is because her name is still recognizable. And the thing is, if people are willing to pay, and I've always said this, Albert always hates on Chuck Liddell, but as long as you love it to fight, why not fight? I mean, like, you only get to do this once in your life. So if she's willing to come out of retirement, the money's right, let her fight and let her prove herself. So yes, I feel like it's a start point to get to Amanda Nunes.
Look, I have no problem as long as they're competitive fights. Come on, Chuck Liddell was not competitive.
Forget the competitiveness.
That's irresponsible and dangerous.
Well, I think this one with Renault is pretty competitive. I think the UFC is doing her a favor, even though Renault has been active. Again, 9-7, 4 losses in a row. Miocic Tate, 4 almost 5 years off. he kind of wanted the UFC's like, hey, you
But
better
see,
win
look,
this one.
My issue too is she said that she wants a crack at the title. We all know that Miocic Tate's stand-up was questionable. I mean, go back to the way she won the belt in Holly Holmes. Holly Holmes was winning into a crucial error, and she won in the ground. Ronda Rousey destroyed her in the stand-up. What does that say about her stand-up?
You're missing the biggest point, which is the lack of stardom, which is what Alex started this conversation about. The lack of stardom or lack of a competitor against Amanda Nunes for the belt. So why not build a notable name and see if she still has gas in the tank? That's all it really comes down to, and the money's right.
I mean, at this point,
I don't see it as a bad thing.
At this point, if you're the UFC, do you try and entice Gina Carano out of retirement? Because she's not.
You entice anybody, Alex. Anybody with the big name, because like you said, even like this past weekend. I don't know the girls division as well, like I used to know. We all knew the Miocic Tates, the Gina Caranos, the Ronda Rouseys, the Holly Holmes, the Amanda Nunes. I mean, and you can go on and on. Jessica I. Like, there was very notable names that were coming up in the rise that were possible contenders. And now, unfortunately, Nunes has wiped everybody off, including Cyborg. So what do you have now?
Julia Pena.
Juliana Pena, yeah. My God. She was talking Mino trash on
our
ESPN.
last hope.
Our last
Julia
hope.
Pena.
So it doesn't really seem like the UFC is trying to get at least somebody from Amanda Nunes at 145. I think Tate's going to come back. She'll probably win against Renault, and then they'll do Nunes versus...
Wow, right up the bat?
Yeah, I think so.
I say you at least make her face Holly Holmes or something.
No, not at 140. It's going to be at 145.
It's going to 145?
I think so. I think she might fight Renault at 135, but then she'll fight Nunes at 145. And then, we'll see from there. I think it's literally going to be whoever's next, whoever wants to fight Nunes at 145. That's how they're going to keep the division open. It's definitely not a full-fledged real division. Basically, the best women's 145ers are at Bellator. They have a pretty deep roster there. So, that's it for round number 3. We're going to take a small break and come back and switch gears, talk about professional wrestling, and talk about what this WWE Network switch over to Peacock is really going to look like now that we're seeing what they're doing as far as censoring some old material. So don't go away. It's coming up next.
5-round MMA.
Welcome back. Time for round number 4 here. Guys, so as lifelong wrestling fans, all 3 of us here, we were pretty kind of psyched when the WWE announced that they have their own little streaming service, right? All the back history of all this stuff here. And since I forget, it's been less than 10 years they've had it, but in the years since its inception, it's grown a lot. It's a massive library of old wrestling stuff that, I love, Albert love, Gamma, we all love here. But they announced that this year, there's going to be no more WWE Network in the United States. If you want to watch anything WWE Network related, it's going to be on the Peacock Network, which is NBC Universal's streaming service. He has Office and Parks and Rec and all that stuff on NBC Universal, right?
Which before you get to the point, I just want to point out to people, I don't know if I'm pretty sure the promo has already ended, but I was able to get Peacock for $2.99 for 3 months. And it includes the WWE Network.
Yeah.
So you can't beat that.
So, of course, but the internet wrestling community is always going to find something that they're not going to like out of it, right? The biggest one before the wrong announced here was that all of the back catalog library stuff from the WWE Network will not be on the Peacock Network until summertime, the earliest. Right? So all that good stuff you're watching. So if you're going to watch all the old school WCW pay-per-views, you better watch them now because they're not going to be available anymore. And also, too, people have been finding out, too, that the stuff that is on there now is edited for insensitive content. People are talking primarily for, I think Roddy Piper had a promo, one of the WrestleManias, where he was, I think, wrestling Bad News Brown, where Piper colored himself half black. And his promo was like black and white or something like that. I don't remember exactly what, but that was deemed racially insensitive and has since been edited out of that show. And mind you guys, we grew up in the Attitude Era. The whole thing was pretty, crazy.
Puppies!
So do you see this as a good thing, a bad thing? Has Peacock just done what Disney did and slap on a warning beforehand, say, hey, this was a long time ago. This is have a sensitive product, or will this even deter you from subscribing to the Peacock Network, guys?
Albert, you gonna take this first or me?
I'll take it first. It's real simple. If Disney is allowing their content to be shown with the disclaimer, I think it should be fine for WWE. I think the mouse is a perfect place to really measure yourself. It's a good measuring stick because they deal with children, people. I mean, they're a children's network. They're a children's product, even though there's a lot of adult fans. But they understand that the last thing they want to do is lose the audience. And I feel like that disclaimer that you see before you watch Dumbo is a perfect thing to do. I mean, the worst thing I think someone can do is ignore history. To say it was right is something else. Then that's why you put a disclaimer. Look, at the time it was we weren't. It's exactly what Disney says on their thing is exactly the way it should be.
So, Guillermo, I mean, to Albert's kind of point there, you have two preteen sons here. If they're hardcore wrestling fans, do you see them going into the catalog of the 80s to watch something like that?
and that's the point I was going to make. I was like, I wonder what the fan base is on WWE Network for all these old stuff, like pre-Attitude Era, which I think I want to see the numbers, but from my standpoint as a parent, I doubt that my kids will ever watch any of that footage from WWE. So, but nonetheless, there's a reason why WWE went PG. So remember at the Attitude Era that we grew up, everything was like all go, right? And I think it's a smart move. And like, I hate to agree with Albert, but you follow Disney, you're going to probably be okay. And I think WWE is going that same route where it's like, hey, at the time, it was just what was okay in society, but now today it's not okay. And I agree, it's not okay. So you put the disclaimer, but you can't erase what was already happened. Can you learn from it? Of course. Is there messages that you can put before and after? 100%.
Sorry, I cut you out, but it almost feels like by them announcing that they're going to take stuff out, it's almost like they're giving it clout. You know what I'm saying? And with the era of YouTube, someone's going to be able to put it up there. And I think they're just putting, I mean, if you're a kid and you do watch something and then you're like, hey, did you hear that they took something out? You're going to go and look for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, doesn't The Office have some sort of like gay jokes in it? Are they editing out The Office or something? Because like, even like Steve Carell said, "Oh, you can't make The Office in today's world because some of the jokes on there aren't really appropriate, right?" So, are they going on and editing some stuff from The Office, or was Parks and Rec all? It's just kind of like, why are you doing this for wrestling unless it was specifically directed from Vince McMahon? Hey, edit that out, or what? It's kind of curious to me. It also seems a little like, wouldn't it cost more money to go in there, find it, edit it out, than just put a disclaimer over it and say, hey, warning, this has this is.
Honestly, Alex, I think it comes down to the publicity. I mean, like, if you leave it, you're gonna get people to boycott and to bring it into light. Why not just cut it off right now and avoid the bad publicity?
But again, Disney does it. They still show it.
Yeah.
And they're perfectly fine.
Well, guess for all you Attitude Era fans there, they're going to edit out all of every single Raw from 97 to 99.
It looks like I'm binging, bro.
Yeah, so I doubt we'll see Mark Henry and Mae Young's Love Child come out, which was a hand. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I was kind of excited for the Peacock,
I don't want to see that
but
anyways.
not anymore.
I was not going back to see Mark Henry's angle.
So we got one more round, and I remember what it was, guys. It was so insignificant, I forgot about it. It's because one of the Paul brothers is coming to WWE. That's why I didn't care about it, guys. We got one more round coming up next.
5-round MMA.
Welcome back, fifth and final round. So I forgot what this round was going to be about in the beginning of the show because I still have trouble realizing who these Paul brothers are and why they're famous. And apparently one of them is going to be involved in WrestleMania this year with the Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens match. And this is going to be Logan Paul, Albert. And this one is going to box Ben Askren or not?
No, this one is going to supposedly box Mayweather.
Right. So now he's
Logan Paul.
Logan Paul is going to be involved in the Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn match, which is kind of put together here. I don't. What do you guys think about this at all? I mean, what is this? I don't know who. I don't know enough about the Paul brothers to even.
Oh my goodness,
form an
Alex, you're
opinion.
missing the whole point. I think we're too old, to be honest with you, because
Probably.
you saw it. These YouTube stars are like unbelievably popular and famous, and you saw it already with WWE utilizing what's his name, Bad Bunny,
Bad Bunny,
at Royal Rumble, and now at WrestleMania, dude. People that I know that never watch wrestling, all of a sudden like, and they would make fun of me for watching wrestling here and there, are like, oh, Bad Bunny's coming out on Raw, I'm gonna watch it. So I mean, unfortunately,
one of our
Alex,
cousins
we live in
actually watched wrestling
we're
just because of Bad Bunny.
old now.
Wow.
So all these YouTube stars actually have a lot of following. So I see it as a positive. Again, I've always told you WWE's about getting people to buy into it. It's more of the business aspect of things, of viewership and selling products, and not necessarily what's the ring product like you guys. And that's why you guys don't like WWE. But that's what sells, and that's what keeps WWE still the number one wrestling company in the world.
True. I mean, like for Bad Bunny, at least he's an artist, right? He sings and like. But what the hell are these Paul brothers? What do they do? Who are these people? Who are they? And why are they on my TV for? Why are they in my MMA? And why are they now in my wrestling? I don't like them. I don't understand it. I sound like an angry old guy. Yeah, but who are they? And why are they everywhere I look now?
Hey, but to take credit, because my boys have watched Paul Brothers here and there, they actually say that making a YouTube video that people are going to watch is a lot harder than doing anything else. Like,
That's
you know,
true.
they do boxing, but they say boxing, you know, you just practice it. Eventually you get good at it. With YouTube, you don't know what people are going to tune into. So the fact that, and they say that themselves, is like the fact that we get so much viewership just shows you how difficult it is for us to release a YouTube video.
Yeah, well, that's true. I think Albert and I have been trying to figure out our algorithm for years now, right?
Yeah, like I said, like
How's it working out for 5-round MMA?
I know, and again, I understand WWE's angle. I mean, especially after Bad Bunny and all the good stuff that came about it when it comes to the product. I get it. And again, let's go all the way back to WrestleMania 1, where it was a star-studded cast. I mean, Mr. T was in the main event.
He was an actor.
Yeah, and he was an actor. But I'm just saying, like, even people back then, like, Mr. T, really? Like, I'm saying, like, it's just one of those things that WWE has always been involved with, and they're just keeping with the times. If the older crowd likes it or not, that's what they're doing. And again, this is the beauty of wrestling right now, that we have so many choices. If you don't want to see the whole Bad Bunny, whatever, then don't see it. AEW's is right there. New Japan's right there. If you want to get real hardcore, you can go check out some AAA, dog. You know, like that's the beauty of what the field that we're in right now in wrestling. I mean, you can get the flavor you want. You don't have to stick to that one flavor.
So yeah, I guess now too that well, it is 2 nights, so you have to have that star power for both nights here. I just don't know like these Paul brothers. I guess they're famous.
Again, if the needle doesn't move on them, they're just not going to use them.
And it's not even like a main event match, right? It's
I think
card.
if it was a main event or for a belt like WCW did with
David Arquette.
But
David Arquette is legit, bro.
Now he's legit.
Have you not seen
he's
legit
documentary? Dude, that documentary is sick. It's a good documentary.
Actually, a shout out to Jason Hendricks. I bet you he wants to see the Paul brothers at World Heavyweight Champion in WWE.
Probably he'll be the first one to get the Paul brothers T-shirt, huh?
Yeah.
All right, that's it. That's it for round number 5 in this week's show. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Whether you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, like, comment, turn on notifications on our YouTube. Also, leave us. We're gonna try a 5-star rating system here for each week's show. Leave us 5 stars either on the YouTube comments or on our IG page or on our Apple Podcast page, wherever you guys listen to us. Make sure to leave us at a 5 stars how you enjoy this show.
Unless you think we're 3.5, then give me 3.5.
3.5, give me 3.5. Make sure to keep up to date with us on social media. We're mostly on Instagram and Twitter. Both.
Albert would take a 1 star.
Just don't give us a negative star, please.
No.
Keep up to date with us on Instagram and Twitter at FiveRoundMMA. It's FiveRoundMMA. Again, make sure to visit FiveRoundMMA.com too. We got some great stuff planned for you guys in the near future as well. You guys probably got our sneak peek at our merch coming out. Some of those sweet tumblers. You guys saw that? by Sparks
Yeah.
by Val. We'll have him live and in person pretty soon. Be drinking from him here on the show. So I got a lot more stuff planned for you guys in 2021. And I want to thank our executive producer, Guillermo Cedar, for hopping on FaceTime. The trio's back together. Hopefully we get you back a regular game. I know you got busy here. You got family life. But, again, appreciate you coming in and give us your thoughts and schooling Albert on this week's show. Albert, what do you got?
Nothing. I'm good.
Guillermo, take us away.
Yeah, to all the trolls out there, oh yeah, we're the cream of the crop.
Thanks for tuning in.